One question I do get to hear quite a lot from majority of my clientele is it necessary to have a physical presence of the business? Like many startups who are basically related to IT or artificial intelligence, they have a completely remote setup, a completely remote staff operating, no physical office premises or any lease agreement between any landlord. So is it okay if the business is fully operational remotely and they have all the staff operating remotely? Is it acceptable for endorsement?
Yes, it is. I would say the vast majority of businesses that get endorsed plan to start sort of working from home or even a hot desk scenario. Clearly, the business needs to be registered in the UK and the applicants need to be present in the UK. And there is an expectation that over a period of time, the applicants would take on some premises, or whether that's an office or some sort of manufacturing operation. There is that expectation with the Home Office, to the point where it's actually in the guidance. If an applicant is not office based or has some premises, maybe at the 24-month checkpoint, then Home Office would sort of want to know why, because what they perceive that if a company is growing, if it's going to create employment, then generally you would have some sort of premises. So they would just want to know and understand the reasons why. I think that has happened though, and we do have quite successful businesses that don't have, a big office or manufacturing premise because the business model is outsourced. So, and that's okay as long as there is a good rationale for it.
Okay, sir. So, well, thank you very much on this as well. And sir, for one further question over here is regarding to the interview that is expected by the applicants in their endorsement stage. So, if you can please clarify, is it always necessary that an interview will be conducted of an applicant, or if the structure is good enough on paper, so interview can be skipped, or is it always necessary?
Every single applicant that receives an endorsement will have an interview.
All right, sir. Okay, that's fine. Thank you for this. And so many people believe that obviously the standard time scale is about 4 weeks, I believe, to process the endorsement applications. But many individuals whose visas are about to expire soon, they are basically in a bit difficult situation over here, and they want the endorsement to be processed as soon as possible. Is there any option for priority service if they pay anything extra fee and the endorsement can be processed quickly?
No, we would never charge any additional fees for priority. It's really difficult, especially when the applications increase rapidly, which they can do. So very quickly, that can create a bit of a backlog. But what we try and do is, where there are circumstances where someone's visa is expiring shortly, we will try and push that through as quickly as we can. What I would stress to anyone in that sort of situation, if they're on a visa and there's an upcoming expiry date, please do not leave it until the last minute. Do things well in advance, because whilst we try and do our best, I think applicants have to do their best in terms of getting the application in as soon as they possibly can, because sometimes if the information isn't clear, we have to ask questions. We've got to go through a very standard process that's been approved by the Home Office. We can't shortcut any of that, and sometimes these things do take time. So please give yourself lots of time to get your application in. Do not leave it until the last minute.
Maybe this is coming from you, and I think all the participants who are attending will believe it, because that is something I always tell to people: do not leave it to the last minute. But when they're just near to the expiry of their visa, they come to me and they say, "Okay, we have everything ready. Can you please process endorsement as soon as possible?" Well, that's not me who is doing. The person who is doing has also clarified that, sorry, there is don't leave it to the last minute. So thank you for that, sir. And so a myth that we get to hear quite a lot is about the 50,000 pounds capital required for in order to start this. And is it still a requirement? Because I believe it was previously under the Innovator Visa route, but not under the Innovator Founder Visa route anymore.
That is correct. So in April 2023, the innovator route changed and it is now the innovator founder route. So from April 2023, there is no requirement to have a minimum of £50,000 investment. That has now changed, and the requirement is it's more based on what your business plan suggests that the capital required is. So, for example, if someone is developing a digital platform, for example, and they are very technical, a very technical founder, and they are doing a lot of that themselves, but then they just need the marketing budget to do that, then, and let's just say it was a B2C type product, so there's quite a hefty marketing budget, and let's just say that was £25,000 in the first year before they start generating revenue. And if their business plan said, this is our marketing project, so we've got the technical product, we don't need to outsource any of that work, but there is a big marketing campaign because it's business to consumer, and that's going to cost us £25,000, and we need that £25,000 to go through that process. They then have to demonstrate that they've actually got that £25,000 in liquid assets, in cash.
Okay, so that's fine. Thank you for clarifying on that. And so, is there any specific business requirement for that? Like, is there any specific industry that the business needs to operate in, or if there is no such requirement for that?
No such requirement. No,
And
no, absolutely.
and we are aware that it is possible for to be a joint venture. Multiple applicants can do the business together. The question that we get to here is like, let's suppose there are two business partners who are starting the business together. One of them needs an endorsement, and the other one might not need it as of now, but might need it in the near future. So, is it possible one of them can get an endorsement now, and the other one can apply at a later stage with the same business?
Yes, it is. So if one applicant say went initially and then another applicant followed on 12 months later, they would have to make a new application like everyone else does. The one key thing in those scenarios, and this is a mistake that's been made in the past, if you are co-founders, and if there is a situation where one of the founders may apply at a later point, please, they have to be referenced in that business plan. Because what
Yeah, so
we've
like day-to-day management of the business is necessary. They should not be just founders on papers.
that's right. They have to have, it has to be clear what their role is. Okay, they may be doing it remotely to start with, but it's got to be very, very clear what their involvement was in order to meet the genuine founder requirement.
Okay,
Um,
so
yeah.
that's fine. Yeah. Okay. So so is there any practical experience necessary for this? Because the clients that I get to deal with mostly are basically fresh graduates in the UK who are just young adults, you can say, in their early 20s, like, and they have been in their full-time education since quite a long time. Like, if you ask me, I started going to school at the age of 3, and up until I was about, I think, 24 years old, I was still in full-time education. So a person, just a fresh graduate with just a vast knowledge on educational background, basically no practical experience. Is it something you will judge whether to grant endorsement or no without any practical experience?
So it is something we would look at on a case by case basis. So we have endorsed graduates on the founder route who've not had a great deal of commercial experience. So it is definitely possible. Um, the stronger applications from graduates with no commercial experience themselves, but what they've done is to make a stronger application is built an advisory team around them. So that's not necessarily saying, those people are employed or they're being paid, but there is an advisory team to support them. Because where it is very challenging is where there is someone who's got an idea, they're straight out of university and they don't have a great deal of resources. They don't have any commercial experience. They haven't got people around them. So it is difficult to, if you take the endorsement aspect out of the equation for a second, and if someone is starting a business at 22, 23 years old with very limited capital, without a network, without any advisors, there's a high probability that that business is going to fail, because a lot of startup businesses do fail. All the numbers tell you how quickly they fail as well. So it's
Yeah,
a
so yeah,
very
let me
high
just
percentage failure rate.
yeah, so what you mean, correct me if I'm wrong, please, that limited practical experience and just a full-time educational background might not be a strong application, right?
Potentially, yes, yes. But if you can, if you can mitigate those factors by saying, well, even if it's got, I'm from a family background, I've got my family to support me and give me advice and support. I have a university mentor. I've been, collaborating with the university on this project, so I've got a group of people. It may be that a family or a friend is a very experienced business person, and I'm taking advice from them. Or I know someone that's going to do my marketing for me because I'm not a marketing expert. It's building that team and network around you can mitigate the fact, or to compensate, that you're very young, you've got limited resources and not a lot of commercial experience. And then it depends on the strength of the idea as well.
All right. Thank you very much on that. And sir, mainly, I do get to hear this question a lot as well, is regarding the interview, basically, the pre-endorsement interview. Obviously, as you clarified that it is necessary to do that. So number one thing is people basically they're concerned about. They're actually a bit nervous, I would say, because they just don't
Yeah.
know what they will be asked, and everything is good on papers, everything seems good on papers, but when they are called in for an interview, I think they just lose confidence, and that is something
Yeah.
I think we should make them aware of, that there is nothing to be afraid of. Obviously, you're not going to arrest them, if they if their interview does not go well. And so just in case interview does not goes well and endorsement is refused, can they apply for a review, or are there any limitations on how many times endorsement they can apply?
Okay, so it's a great point about the confidence. And if you are 100% immersed into your business plan, if you understand your business plan and you can articulate your business plan, you have nothing at all to be worried about, because that's all the interview is about. It's not an interrogation. Um, it's the purpose of the interview is for us just to see that you can answer questions about your business and that you understand your business. Because, unfortunately, there are some unscrupulous people out there that write business plans on behalf of individuals. So, and then what happens is the individual then gets a visa, comes to the UK, and they don't really know what they're doing. So, and they will fail,
Yeah, exactly. Because
almost
I think,
guaranteed.
yeah, that is what I basically, that is the point that we are clarifying over here, is that day-to-day management of the business is a necessity. Because that's the reason, even though Home Office conducts interviews for skilled worker visa applicants in order to ensure that the job they are doing, they actually have an idea what they are doing. And I think mainly this is the reason endorsing body does an interview as well, to in order to ensure that the applicant is aware what they are doing. And as you said, that they have not the business plan is not AI or chat GPT generated, and it is actually done by them, and they know what they are doing on that. So okay,
Yeah.
and so is there like only one interview or meeting to be expected, or it can be multiple?
No, it's generally only one interview, and that typically lasts between 30, 40 minutes max. But it's really just a conversation. And what you will find is they're not new questions. They will be questions around the business plan that's being presented. So, the applicant sometimes says, well, the answer to that is in the business plan. Have you not read the business plan? But the purpose of the Zoom interview is to check your understanding and to see if you can articulate what's already in your business plan. So that's why I'm saying if you're confident about your plan, you've written it, you understand it, and you can answer questions about it, there's absolutely nothing to worry about.
All right.
If an applicant does get refused, we are the only endorsing body that offers a second assessment process and an appeal process. So what happens is a refusal summary is sent out detailing the reasons why the application has been refused. And then if you feel that that is an incorrect decision or the assessor has misunderstood some of the key points, you can respond to that refusal, and then we will have another look at that. There's no additional costs or fees involved with that process. If after that second assessment there's still a refusal, there is an opportunity to appeal, and then that's looked at by a completely different assessor. And again, there's no fees to that, but no other endorsing body does that. That's just
And
Innovator
is there
International.
any limitations on how many times a person can apply endorsement? Like if all the appeal rights are exhausted, is there any cooling off period that they can apply again or what?
Yeah, they can definitely apply again. Absolutely.
There is no cooling off period in
There's
that.
no cooling off period. Clearly, what they would have to do is address the points in the refusal and make sure that they are not going to get refused again.